University's Center for Psychiatric Rehabilitation's goal is to connect our viewers with supportive resources in the community and to help individuals enhance their career development and overall well-being. Everyone can be successful with the right support.
In the last ditch, I think of you. In the last ditch, I will be true.
Hi, my name is Kim Bissett, and welcome to Employment for All, where we believe everyone can be successful with the right supports. I'm here to help you get a job, change jobs, or advance in the job you currently have. Each and every week we bring you different topics and different guests who help you with your career development and your overall well-being. And this week is no exception. We'd like to welcome Charles Arena. Welcome.
Thanks, nice to be here.
Charles is with the Boston University Center for Psychiatric Rehabilitation. He's an administrative assistant there. He's actually a frequent guest. Welcome back, Charles, to
Thanks.
Employment for All.
Thanks a lot.
We're happy to have you here. We have a new topic that we're talking about, and it's Toastmasters today. And a lot of people say, Toastmasters? What is Toastmasters?
Well, it's an organization you can join if you want to really improve your communication skills, either within a department or actually if you want to improve how you make a sales presentation. But it's basically different ways you can actually improve your public speaking, getting up in front of a group, organizing a speech. You know, it helps you with your choice of words, introducing a topic, and actually your general overall delivery, making eye contact with the audience, you know, using coherent language, having a body, a conclusion, and just your overall presentation skills.
Fantastic. No, that's great. So I've actually, over the years, really recommended to a lot of people that they should be part of Toastmasters because it really helps you hone your skills. It helps you be clearer about what you're willing to say and more targeted to your audience. So I think it's fantastic that you're able to go. I actually got an email just today from a young woman that I had recommended she go to Toastmasters, and she's being a presenter on a very distinguished conference. So she's really going from kind of a shy place to a not a very clear place, being a presenter, to really being quite clear enough to be on a panel and to be able to share her recovery story and some of her background. So it's a really wonderful tool to help people move forward. So why did you decide to go to Toastmasters, Charles?
Well, I've always felt I had decent communication skills, but I wanted to actually improve the general, actually, you can improve your voice modulation, or actually how to actually prepare a speech beforehand, choosing a topic that's relevant, supporting it with evidence, and actually backing up what you say. And actually, you can actually persuade an audience to actually take a certain stand or change an opinion. So I just like the overall challenge of actually preparing a speech, getting up in front of the audience, you know, and developing a certain rapport with the audience by, you know, taking time when you speak, you know, maintaining some eye contact, and actually just going through the whole speech from beginning to end. You actually get the chalk for 5 to 7 minutes. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're up there, you're actually using a lot of energy, but it's good energy. You really enjoy it. I think you can learn from every speech, too.
Absolutely, and it's so valuable to have that kind of feedback, to have someone say, this is what you did well, but this is what you could improve upon, and it's a very structured format that really helps people kind of hone in on specific things they need to develop. Can you talk about the format of some of the meetings?
Well, actually, to begin the meeting, the Toastmaster, which is pretty much the same person, although if that person is out, someone else can fill in, will introduce the speakers for the day. Usually there's 3 speakers, sometimes 4. And also he will ask for volunteers for different offices, like the grammarian will count your ahs and ums and double clutches. And I've actually improved each one of those areas, especially the ums. I mean, that's really, you have to really watch out for that. And we also have the timekeeper. And then we also have speech evaluators. That's a very important job. After each speaker, after all the speakers give their speeches, the evaluators will come in and tell the audience what the speaker did right, what he can improve on, you know, the ideas that he presented. And I think it's really good. You learn every time you get evaluated, and I think it's constructive criticism, but it's in a friendly format.
Great. No, it's very structured, and it gives you very specific feedback, and that you've seen improvement is fantastic. I have to ask, what's a double clutch?
Oh, that's where you actually start an idea. I think in the middle of a sentence, you actually go from one idea to another. Sometimes it's actually built into the speech itself. There was a couple of speeches I had, maybe 7 to 8 of those, but that was because I actually had some run-on sentences, maybe 2 or 3 lines long, so I went from one idea to another. but it's not really a big thing. But that's something to work on. So I noticed like the next two speeches, I actually was more concise, and I actually finished one idea before going on to the next. So I noticed a definite improvement in that area.
Wow, that's fantastic. And it is so great to have that kind of structured feedback, and anyone can be a better presenter. I would love to go to Toastmasters just to increase different areas of presenting, and it gives you such specific feedback that can help you move forward. I've often invited people to see me present and have them give feedback. And it's wonderful feedback, and it's very helpful, but it's not as specific as Toastmasters. And I love that they have the different roles to really look at what parts of the speech are going well and which parts needs improvement. So how is it set up? How do you join? How do you find a Toastmasters near you? Let's start there. What's the locations?
Well, actually, you can go on a website. Our website, the Toastmasters organization I belong to, is www.bostontoastmasters.org. But you can also go to a meeting. If you go to a meeting, you have a chance to speak in front of a group. You're sitting down, and you actually get the chance to introduce your name, why you're at Toastmasters, what brought you to the meeting, and if you're willing to, if you're thinking about joining Toastmasters, what skill do you want to improve on, and what area do you want to show an improvement in? And then from there, if you can actually join right there.
Wow, you
that
can just
first
show
meeting.
up at a meeting. Fantastic. Nothing like taking action, taking a start.
Right.
Now, we can't mention costs here on the show, but it's a very small cost. So we want to let people know that they can join, it's not cost prohibitive. It's a small yearly fee that people can do. And so you can just show up at a meeting and say, I want to be part of it, and just start right there. That's fantastic.
Well, I think what you have to do is once you pay the fee, you actually get a membership book, and in it describes the purpose of the organization. There's like actually 10 speeches you can actually prepare, and each chapter has an objective. You could actually persuade an opinion. You can actually show evidence for a conclusion that you could actually. There's one topic on visual aids that you can use in a speech. There's not a speech on inspiration. So this book tells you the objective of the speech, how you can prepare, and some of the things that you can do to prepare for the speech, and actually what the evaluators are looking for once you give the speech. What are they going to evaluate you on?
Great. So there are even different topics of the speech and different skills that they want to help you build.
Yes.
Can you describe some of the speeches you've done?
Well, the first speech was actually the icebreaker, where you introduce yourself, maybe 2 professional goals, 2 personal goals, and actually what brought you to Toastmasters. Like for example, I mentioned that I wanted to improve my communication and speaking skills, and actually I have since I joined Toastmasters. The first speech is like usually 4 to 6 minutes, so I think I went up to 10, but you can always cut that down. And the other 2 speeches, one was on visual aids in regards to, I think it was like, when you read a newspaper article, the article presents a lot of different words and a lot of different information. And you can read an article and actually say to yourself, what was that about? Let me read it again and again. But there's steps you can take. You can write down some of the things that are ambiguous, or some of the things that maybe have 2 meanings. A lot of words do have 2 meanings. So I actually gave a speech on that, how to sort of increase your reading comprehension by taking an article and just breaking it down into different parts.
Great. And you recently did a speech. You were in a contest about a speech. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, that was actually a humorous speech. And although I made up some of the things, I actually wrote about how I prepared for this different interview. And I actually described how I got to the lobby, how I actually found the interviewer's office, and I made some of it funny, in regards to like what the job was about. And after he described the job 5 minutes, I was doing all I can to convince him I wasn't the person for the job, and I actually wanted to get out of there by using a jetpack and just flying out the window. So I think that speech was like 6 minutes, and I really didn't start to laugh until the end because I was trying to actually make it funny, but I think that was a good opportunity.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. So you made kind of the challenge of job searching, kind of put a funny spin on it.
Yes.
And people really liked it. I heard from several people in the group that it was a great speech. And so you actually won that competition, and it brings you forward to a kind of a higher level of competition?
Yes, if you want to go on further, you have an opportunity to do another humorous speech, maybe at a different Toastmasters club. I think
cool.
My first speech, there was like maybe 2 or 3 guys that gave a humorous speech. So the next level, if I wanted to pursue that, there would probably be more competition. But I think it's really fun.
Oh, cool. No, that's fantastic. And I think, Charles, it's a wonderful thing that I imagine kind of difficult to, well, I should ask you, was it difficult to show up at the first meeting? Was it challenging to take that move to join Toastmasters?
Well, I think it's something that I wanted to do, but when I got to the first meeting, I saw a couple of cameras, and I saw a couple of people who were ready to give speeches, dressed, pretty nicely. So I said to myself, can I do this? Should I stay? Should I walk out or what? But once I started to hear about the camaraderie of the group, because they support each other, it's criticism, but it's friendly, constructive criticism, and you can always learn from it. And you actually get a chance to look at yourself and say, these are the things I did right, and I'm pretty proud of it. So I think once I got there and I started to hear people talk, it's something that I knew I wanted to stay.
Great, great. So it was hard to initially get there to kind of make that move, and it was a little intimidating, but once you kind of stuck it out, you're really glad you did.
Yes.
Fantastic. So that's really important for people at home to say, I'm a little nervous about it. Should I take a move? And you're encouraging them to just to go there and see that the other people are really supportive, and it's a really wonderful learning environment and growing environment.
I think it really is, yes.
Well, that's fantastic.
I really do.
That's neat. I'm also, one of the things that I do is I'm director of vocational services at a place called Side by Side. And I've encouraged a couple people at Side by Side since I started there to join Toastmasters, and that seemed kind of intimidating for them, the individuals who are residents of Side by Side, to go on their own. So the president, Keith Duclos, said that he would go because he wanted to increase his skills. And so he goes with a group of residents, a group of individual clients at Side by Side. And they go together, they have dinner, and then they go to the meeting together. So they all learn together. And I think it's a wonderful model because everybody can learn, not only people who are part of a program, but the president of the company can go, and everyone can grow and learn. And I would love to be part of it as well at some point. But they really get the specific skills they need, they get the support, and they also prepare beforehand. They kind of get ready at the meeting, at the dinner before. And so I think it's a cool model to help people move forward, because it can be intimidating to go alone. But I think it's great because you could say to other people, hey, could we go together to this meeting? Can we, and they did it as a group as part of a program, but you could grab a friend, grab a relative, grab someone you know from a different program, a different place, and that might be less intimidating too. So we're always trying to figure out what supports do you need to be successful, because we believe at Employment for All that everyone can be successful with the right supports. So it's great if you can take that initiative, as you say, and go on your own. And I've known many of people that I've worked with, helping them find jobs that have gone. But I think this is a unique model that Side by Side is doing, and I think it's great for anyone to kind of partner up with someone and say, we're going to go together, let's make it fun, let's go to dinner before, let's go for ice cream after, whatever it takes to get us there to help us move forward in our career.
It's funny you mentioned that. Well, sometimes after the meeting, after you give your speech, after you give a table topics, 2-minute speech, you can have the opportunity to go to dinner with some of the members of the group. Usually one of the Toastmasters officers will actually go sometimes to Kenmore Square. So after the meeting, you can actually wind down and go with a few of the members and actually, increase your social network by going to dinner and just having fun for about a half hour.
Oh, great. That's wonderful. So there's that built-in, I didn't even know that aspect of it, so that's nice. There's a built-in social component for people who want to kind of get better at just being social and increase their social networks. That's fine. That's really great. And so let's talk a little bit about networking, because Toastmasters is a great way to network. You want to talk about a little bit about that?
Well, actually, I have met a couple people that actually have gone to Toastmasters for quite some time. One of them was actually in recovery, and he had similar recovery issues as me. And I found out that, this is true, 2 months ago, he was actually a guest speaker where I work at Boston University Center for Psych Rehab. And that was one of the first persons I met through Toastmasters. I said to myself, why does he need Toastmasters? Because the speech he gave was, to me, it seemed perfect. But actually, when he got evaluated, there was things he could work on. I'm saying, well, this is a tough club, but it's really fun. I mean, you're always learning something about yourself, and it's challenging. But it's challenging in a fun way, too. So.
That's fantastic. That's a great story, because some people you think, wow, I'm a pretty good presenter. Maybe I don't need this, but there's always room for improvement. There's always ways people can support you to help you move forward. And it's funny, you see someone and you're like, wow, they're a pretty good presenter. But it's the people who supported them along the way that helped them become a better presenter. So that's a great point. For someone who still is a little bit on the fence, what would you say? Any other words of encouragement for someone who's thinking, hey, Toastmasters, or any kind of, we should say any kind of club that helps you improve, any kind of thing that you can be part of that helps you move forward in your recovery, what would you say to someone who's kind of sitting on the couch or kind of on the fence, how would you encourage them to say that something like this, either Toastmasters or a similar club that helps you with your social networks, helps you with your networking, and helps you with your presentation skills, what would you say to them?
Well, I would try, especially with something like Toastmasters, the person could actually read something on the internet. They actually have a website explaining the purpose of the club, what they do, you know, what some of the members have actually gotten from Toastmasters, and actually maybe they can get a book on Toastmasters, you know, describing some of the things they could talk about, some of the skills they could work on, and actually, you know, there's no obligation. They actually go to a couple of meetings and just watch some of the speakers, or just watch the structure of the meeting. You know, the way the Toastmaster introduces the speakers and the different topics and talks about the meeting. That way there's no obligation, so the person could see what it's all about. And sometimes when you hear a speech, you say to yourself, oh yeah, I've thought about that too. Or I can talk about something like that. And I'd like to learn more about it by actually read how to organize a speech better, and actually presenting my ideas in a better way. So that could be one of the ways that, you know, the person could be less nervous about joining a club like Toastmasters.
Cool, cool. So that's a great way. So a great way to get started is just check out the website, see what
Right.
it's like, hear about it, and then maybe check out a meeting just to see, no obligation, like, okay, or maybe even talk to someone who's done it. Talk to a member of the group who's been part of it. So that would be a great resource for people to do. That's fantastic. So what has been the best kind of thing that you've learned or you've gotten out of Toastmasters, out of being part of it?
Well, I think the best thing is actually how to actually organize a speech and actually keep the ideas pretty much coherent. Sometimes when you're talking about something, the tendency is to go on into different areas, or you want to get a lot of information in 5 to 7 minutes. And I've tried to get 14 minutes of information in 7 minutes, and sometimes I sort of talk, and sometimes I go to 9 or 10. But you can actually, by being concise and actually really sticking to one topic and presenting your ideas and evidence in sort of like an organized and professional way, you can actually speak for 7 minutes and really get your point across, and also to sort of like get a connection with the audience. I've done well with eye contact, with just like looking at different parts of the room and actually pausing when you actually make a statement, giving them a chance to understand what you said, then going on to something else, using facial expressions and body language. I think I've improved with the body language and the posture with the audience too, because all that counts when you're making a speech. And I think as you see yourself improve, you really get something out of it.
Right, you gain confidence. I think to me, it would be fun, kind of, Charles, for us to watch some of your earlier shows and see that I think you've gained some confidence. I think you've gained some clarity in your shows, and I think Toastmasters has a big piece of that to help you kind of be a little bit clearer. I think you come alive when you do a speech, and I think you come alive a little bit on the show. And I think it helps you kind of form your ideas. But I definitely see that Toastmasters has been a positive influence. You've also made some other positive changes in your life. You look great. You want to talk a little bit about some of the fitness and well-being initiatives you've taken in your own life?
Well, actually, this sort of relates to Toastmasters. Sometimes when you're giving a speech, you'll notice that you stayed pretty much the same for a while, and then you show a marked improvement because you really direct your energy and direct your focus towards something. And I've directed my energy toward actually losing weight over a period of 6 weeks, you know, losing 14 pounds, which is like, because we have fitness classes at Boston University, but then I thought to myself, now is the time to really give it that extra push, and that extra special attention, and be more continuous, and really focus on what I'm doing. You know, not just start it for a week or for a few days, really over a longer period of time, maintain that energy and enthusiasm about finishing a goal, which can only lead to better health. So I think that was one of the big things I've accomplished.
That's fantastic. So you really kind of set forth a goal and you said, okay, I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to feel better. And can you talk about some of the strategies? How do you achieve that? Because that's very difficult.
Well, it is, especially for people at certain ages who take certain medication. But I developed 2 or 3 things actually concurrently that I tried to do to lose the weight. One is to take my physician's advice finally in full form to cut down on my portions.
Great.
And just because if I go home and have a long commute, doesn't give me the right to have a bowl of spaghetti like that's fit for 2 people. So just monitoring your portions and increasing your physical activity. You don't have to like run or walk on a treadmill 30 minutes, but I find out that increasing on the treadmill, the bike on a more consistent level, cutting down your portions, and just staying away from foods that you know you really don't need. that are not really good for you, making a concerted, definite effort.
Okay, so cutting out, what kind of things have you cut out of your life that it sounds like you haven't really missed them, but what kind of things have you cut out?
Well, I've really bought candy or chips or junk food or stuff like that, and also the foods that, if you read the label and you realize there's a lot of sugar in these foods, just reading the label for it and realizing, foods in a lot of sugar, you can always find a substitute.
Okay.
And since I like a lot of different foods, you're just really paying attention to the carbohydrates, especially lower carbohydrates and lower sugar.
Okay, so really basically cutting out a lot of soda, cutting
Yes.
out, you mentioned chips, cutting out...
A lot of bread. I think that was the big thing too. You think you can just like start off breakfast with a bagel and everything's okay, but this is what I did several times. I've actually had half a bagel, or with a bagel, a lot less cream cheese. So even that small improvement will make a difference.
Great, and that's what we're talking about here today. I think small distinctions, making little distinctions that can make a big change. So I think that's a great example. You used to have a full bagel, but did you really need a full bagel? Probably not. So making just a half a bagel, save the other half for the next day. You save money, you save calories, not using as much cream cheese. You got more cream cheese for the rest of the week. That's a great example. Or maybe even cutting down. I heard on the way here a humorous commercial that they were talking about sugar, cutting down on sugar, and that the kids would, could start with cutting down to, just cutting out one extra soda a week, or even a day. Just kind of, if they drink 3 sodas a day, cutting down to 2, then going down to 1. So just kind of really one by one taking the soda out. So I think that makes a big difference.
And actually what I've done is, a lot of times when I have coffee, I order it with sugar. So I've been ordering it without sugar. And you notice how one thing leads to another. You start one small goal, you don't realize it's a big deal. Then it leads to something else and something else. Then you see a chain of goals that you've performed. And so it's sort of like a Toastmasters thing. That can really give you the confidence to really push yourself.
I think that's a great example, because once you make one improvement in your life, it's easier to make another improvement. It's easier to make another improvement. It's true sometimes. I have different things in my house, and once I clean off one thing, then I'm like, oh, well, that looks clean. Now I can clean off this other thing. And if someone in my house cleans up some piece of it, then I'm like, well, that's done. Now I can clean something else.
Exactly.
So it really helps you kind of free up time and mental energy to move forward. So I think that's great. You kind of get the momentum going. So what we're really trying to say to people is take one action. Take one small action, whether it's getting involved in some kind of group that's positive, that's towards the improvement of either your well-being, or you could join a walking group, I know at the YMCA, or some kind of group that helps you come forward in your well-being, or the Toastmasters group, or something similar, even a job group. Because we're on Employment for All, we have to mention a job group.
That's right.
So we talk about WIND, which is Wednesdays is networking day, and that's a great way for people to move forward, and they can look it up. It's wind.org, I believe, and you can really look at being part of a community that meets and helps you move forward in your career development. So I think the main goal is for people, what would you say as we wrap up? What was the last message you'd like to leave for people?
Well, I think if you're looking toward longer-term goals, I think the big thing is look for something that you know that you have a really good chance of accomplishing. Something sensible, something that could be several short-term goals that you can really focus on and really measure and see the progress. Take that initial first step, like you said, by either talking to somebody or even getting in touch with yourself and realizing there are things that you can do right now that's going to make a difference. And like I said before, and you said, doing well in one goal could lead to something else, and you want to actually do more and more. And I think you'll increase your self-esteem that way.
Fantastic. So I think that's a great note to end on, is to say, just take any action, take some action, talk to someone, reach out to someone, look on a website, show up to a meeting, do something, because that will lead to more and more and more progress and more potential help you realize your potential in your life. So that's fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Charles. It's always a pleasure when you're on Employment for All, and we really appreciate all your insights into Toastmasters and moving forward. And I'd like to also say thank you very much to our viewers for tuning into Employment for All, where we believe that everyone can be successful with the right supports. And we want you to look out for someone who might just need that extra special attention to reach their full potential, and help support them in whatever goal that they feel is important to them. So I'd also like to thank the Department of Mental Health for sponsoring Employment for All. And I'd like to say thank you to our viewers for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next week. This is Kim Bissett saying have a great day.